Welcome to Beyond Brave. I'm Kyla, and here's where we dive into stories of hope, bravery, and laughter. Millions followed our journey with my daughter Bella, but now it's time to go beyond the headlines and highlight reels to those raw, real moments I haven't shared anywhere else. So are you ready to go beyond brave? Let's dive in.
But if you want it to be perfect, you can make it perfect.
Kyla, you can start.
Okay, I can start. Let's start with why I look, how we start every pod is if you are watching our pod, I like to do a little googly eye hunt because that was a thing. That was Bella and I's jam. So if you're watching and you just tuned in, you can search for the googly eyes.
And that would be on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah, that's the only video we are uploading right now.
Yeah, videos on YouTube. So googly eyes. And if we want to talk about how I look right now, I look like I'm wearing a quilt.
This is your favorite topic.
Well, yeah, this is my favorite cup. Yeah, I'm always cold. Where's my always cold girlies at?
Right.
So my microphone is a little far away. All right, so there, you can hear me a little bit better. So this quilt is, I'm a collaborator and partner with Ronald McDonald House Canada, and they had sent me this cozy quilt sweater by Canadian artist Breenie. You can follow her on Instagram at Breenie, and she is in collaboration with this campaign for Mick Cafe in support of Ronald McDonald House Canada charities. So the card I received, I'll just read it. There is no cozier feeling than wrapping up in your favorite quilt and enjoying a delicious cup of coffee. What if you take this feeling to the next level and help families with sick children at the same time? All December long, $1 from the purchase of Mick Cafe at-home coffee products will be donated directly to RMHC Canada, up to $100,000. And of course, I am, and Bella was always a huge advocate for RMHC, especially our home RMHC Canada. I was looking at this quilt today by Breenie. She's an amazing artist. I followed her a lot because she's
you've said quilt, but I don't think we've described it yet.
Okay, yeah, describe. For our listeners and our non-viewers.
You are wearing a quilt.
Literally wearing a quilt.
But it's a bunny hug or a hoodie.
A hoodie. Yeah, if you're from Saskatchewan, we say bunny hug. It's a hoodie. It's a sweatshirt with a hood on it. What are the other names for bunny hugs?
I don't know, but it looks like a picnic blanket that's been sewn into a hoodie.
Can we just talk about how flippin' soft this is? It's like velvety soft, and it's quilt thick, and it's so cozy. Oh, I love it. And then I was looking at it. I was looking at the artistry on it from Breenie, and there is a word on the back that says, can you read what it says for me? Do you remember? What does it say? Espoir?
Yeah, espoir.
Espoir?
Yeah.
Which I looked up, and it's French for hope.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Why didn't they send me one?
I know. Well, see.
Didn't they see I had like almost 4,000 people on my Instagram? that moves the needle, right?
Well, I do still need to make a reel and a TikTok with this and promo for this campaign. So if you want to be in it, can maybe be in it. I have a few
I don't
ideas.
think I can. I don't have a quilt to wear.
Well, I can take different shots of me in it and then you in it. And
yeah,
I have a couple ideas. I was actually I have a couple ideas for Waylon and I, but I could allow you, I suppose.
No, that's not my thing. You know, I don't mind it. I don't mind it here.
Oh, and you're wearing a Jim Pattison's tee. Represent.
Yeah. There I am.
I like how you always tell, especially
Jim Pattison is the Children's Hospital in Saskatchewan.
Yes, it's our children's hospital. It started being built the month Bella was born, and we were in RUH, and we got to see them like
she was born, and they're like, "Oh shit, we better get building the children's hospital."
Yeah. I need to oh my gosh, that is basically like our life.
Thought about that way.
Yeah. They're like, oh, and did you know what else I just found out?
No.
I just saw this on the news like yesterday. We finally have a gastroenterologist, a GI specialist in Saskatchewan again for pediatrics.
Good.
We didn't have one when Bella was born. Had one. I know a lot of GI families, of course, because that was Bella's like largest medical issue that led to her bowel transplant. And so it was a real big deal that we didn't have a GI specialist in Saskatchewan,
Mhm.
especially since our new children's hospital was built and completed in 2019.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of families that needed one desperately. Like we always had to go out of province, Alberta and Toronto for the GI specialist.
Which wasn't a huge undertaking for us. I mean, we got to go to a nicer facility because the children's hospital wasn't here yet. It was just a longer drive, but
I
it didn't
wouldn't
put us out.
downplay it. I wouldn't
Oh, okay,
downplay
you're
it. I
right.
mean, I feel personally like our RMHC is our home away from home that always made things easier to travel, but that is a big weight to travel with a sick child. Bella was also our first child, so we didn't have to tag along other little kiddos, big
Mhm.
families and traveling to, oops, I should silence my phone.
What's the notification for?
Krista, she's like, what are you talking about tonight? I told her, she's like, she texted me and she's going to love this.
I should have texted you that too. We're both on a.
She's going to love it. Oh, it was Catherine. Krista just texted me and she said that
A friend of yours.
a friend of mine, Kyla, I love the pod. You and Lyle are so great. I said, oh, thanks. We're about to record more episodes. She's like, ooh, what's this one going to be about? And
she's just clamoring for a shout out.
Oh, totally. And now she has one. That's okay. I said, well, we're working on more Q&A.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, oh, I love Q&A. Okay, and then Catherine chimed in. So hold on, we'll get back to our story.
Oh, shiny red ball.
Shiny red ball. Catherine chimed in. Catherine, I love listening to it, but I have cried a couple times in my office. She says, oh, love the conversations, especially the ones around grief counseling. And oh, my sweet little friends texting
So where were
me.
you going with the Jim Patterson's?
Get me back on track. Get me back on track. We were talking about the lack of GI specialists, and then you had mentioned kind of along the lines like it wasn't a big deal that we had to travel out of province. When I was like, whoa, is a big deal to some families. It's really hard, especially when you do it for years and years and years.
I meant for us, it wasn't as bad as it would be for most other people because we do live pretty close to Calgary. Well, not close, but not as.
Yeah, Calgary's like a 6-hour drive.
Yeah. I guess that sounds a lot.
Calgary's a 6-hour drive. Well, and it's not faster to fly because we're in Swift Current. Mm-hmm. So you either drive to the airport, which is 2 or 3 hours, then you wait in the airport and fly, which is another 2 to 4 hours. Whereas we can just get in our car and go, and that's 5 to 6 hours.
Logistics, always fun.
Logistics are always fun. And then Toronto is a 3-hour flight.
Was that a Q&A on your sheet tonight?
No, this is just something we.
Where is Swift Current? I just Google it, you guys.
Yeah,
Pick your mic off a little.
Oh, what do I need? Back it off. Am I too loud?
There you go.
See, I felt like in our last episodes that I was too quiet.
Oh, okay.
Especially when we were kind of like bantering back and forth, and I felt like my voice kind of trailed off. So I was like, oh, maybe my mic was too far away. You're
probably right though.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure. And okay, so where I was going with Jim Patterson's hospital, what we were talking about is that I just saw on the news, like yesterday, we now have a GI specialist, which is amazing because there's so many families.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason why we had to travel out of province for Bella's medical care.
Mm-hmm.
A big reason. There was lots of reasons, but that was one of the big ones.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for our families, our close families that we know that desperately need one close to home. And so that's awesome for our children's hospital in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Cool.
Yeah. That was a little bunny trail there.
Bunny trail. Who says that?
I don't. People that say bunny hugs. Bunny trail, bunny hugs.
If you spend enough time around Kyla, you'll realize that she says things that she thinks other people like. That's a thing people say. I don't think that's a thing people say.
Well, and this is why I have you in my life. This is why I need you.
No, that's awful.
Because you're like, wait a minute, honey. Down. People might not know that, right? Or like with abbreviations, or what do I always say? Like acronyms, and you're like, people don't always know what acronym you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
but that's the medical world is all acronyms.
Or who Krista is, or right? Everyone knows who my friends are.
Krista is my friend. Okay, Catherine is my friend.
Yeah.
Lyle is my husband. If anybody's wondering, like, who's
I
this
think
guy
that's
she's talking to?
I think that's helpful.
Okay, good. Okay, because you're going to notice in my intro that I added a little bit more like about us
Oh, okay,
to
great.
it, which I thought would be helpful for people just chiming in
Yeah.
or just like, Okay, first discussion I wanted for tonight was a little bit of a how-to lesson that I thought our listeners might appreciate.
Oh yeah, I did read that.
Did you read that? Especially
Mhm.
listeners like me that are not very like up and up. They just click play and they go, which is fine. But I enjoyed looking into this and learning and figuring out a way to tell you all how to do this. Me being in your shoes, being like, how would I like someone to explain this to me? Because I need to do this to help other podcasts that I want to support. A quick how-to for new to podcast listening listeners. On Spotify, for example, this is a how to follow, set notifications, rate, and write a review.
Oh, I didn't read this. That's a little self-indulgent. No,
No, because we always just say it. We always just say it, and then I find myself
Oh,
with what do you mean? Don't reach over here like you're gonna edit what I'm about to say.
no, I don't want to edit you.
But I found myself when I listen to other
I'll
podcasts,
do that
I'm
in
like,
post-production.
okay. Speaking of, okay,
No, say go with what you're saying.
remind me to come back to post-production edits
Hey.
because we have an issue. Don't let me forget. Don't let me forget. Okay. I found myself listening to other podcasts and I thought, okay, I'm not being a very supportive podcast listener because I don't know how to rate their podcast, set reminders, download, etc., etc. So I wanted to come up with a little how-to. So if you're new to podcast listening, you want to support podcasts you like, this is how you do that. So for example, on like Spotify, most podcast platforms, there's symbols that are a straightforward way to. Why are you laughing?
I just can't believe that you're explaining this right now.
I am a teacher by trade, and okay, there might be someone out there like me. Maybe there's a lot of people out there like me. Now, anyways, okay. Anyways, the symbols are the where you want to go depending on the platform you're using. So to follow and subscribe, you look for the little plus sign for following. If you want to follow a podcast, and that helps you. Okay, so you press,
receive notifications when they put out a new episode. That way.
yes, yeah, very simple. Tap the little plus sign. That means you're following them. Okay. On some platforms, it might say subscribe instead of follow. Okay, to make sure you're receiving notifications, there's a little bell icon, little dingle bell. Okay, this is a notification button. Tap it, and it turns on reminders for you. Right? Some things I actually didn't know. The star icon on Spotify specifically, when you see the star shape,
you have to click the 3 dots and then hit the star.
Okay. To rate the podcast, scroll to the top of the podcast page or to the about section and tap the star icon and leave a rating out of 5 stars.
3 dots.
Mm-hmm.
Then the star.
Okay. Write a review. Also very helpful, which I don't think we've mentioned. On Apple Podcasts. On Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the ratings and reviews section of the show's page where you'll see an option to leave a written review. Okay, there, the torture is over for you. I'm done. There are people out there like me, okay, that need these explained. That rather not be like, they could be looking at their phone right now and being like, oh, that's what that's for. That's what that does.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
right.
Thank you,
That's
Kyla.
true. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I'm absolutely supportive of you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Your eyes say otherwise.
Next episode, I'm going to run through a Microsoft Excel tutorial.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
No.
Because that's super helpful.
Okay. I need to catch my breath for a minute. That was really traumatizing.
Yeah. You have no idea what it is.
I don't want to sit through that.
It's okay.
Listen, I feel like a lot of our community.
Hey, the people that are listening
need this. Well, especially since I just did that poll on my Instagram stories where I had the 4 options of listeners for our podcast. And I was so sad because the first option was haven't listened yet.
And I think that's great.
Well, it's great, but then it's like, okay, yeah, maybe they haven't listened yet because they're not like into podcasts or they're new to podcasts or like they don't know how to search a podcast.
You know, I've noticed a lot of people that have written and like, I wasn't into podcast. I'm trying it out
Yeah.
and this is cool.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, you are, I think because
Trying to help them.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that way. I also, it's my teacher brain, right? Like I kind of think like, okay, if someone's learning something new, how can I help them?
Really, shut up, Lyle.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn here.
Yeah.
Keeping
There's-
just like
yeah.
go with me to school. It was like that for everyone for 12 years. Wow, just shut up. I'm trying to learn.
I'm trying to learn. Oh, you're that kid in the class.
And we both were.
That's true.
I was in the hallway.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Mine was for being loud.
I was a distraction.
Oh, yeah. Remember when our whole family was
It's
just
not
like,
my fault. I'm a
"Oh."
distraction.
Well, and it's not my fault.
Don't
I
get
was
distracted.
blessed with this loud teacher voice. I mean, I became a teacher, so
Yeah.
I put it to good
That's why I
use.
didn't think you needed to pull the mic so close to you.
Well,
It's like probably the first time anyone's ever blamed you being too quiet.
okay, I hope. Well, that was myself too. So who knows? We could ask Denny later and be like, Denny, what's, when you're editing,
Yeah.
how's my voice? Am I too loud, too soft? Right now, it's like
You're good to go.
girl measurement here. I'm like putting my fingers from my chin to the microphone. It's like 3 inches. It's like 3 inches, but yours is like a foot
No,
away.
it's way more than 3 inches.
Oh my word.
So you go ahead.
This
Moving on.
is a G-rated show. Okay. Okay. After my little how-to session, I then wanted to carry on with a lot of our questions from my Instagram community.
Mhm.
And the first one is, how do we want or don't want people to say to us? How do we...
Come again.
Hold on. Okay. What is it that we would typically want people to say to us, like in public as bereaved parents, like when we run into people in public or that sort of thing? Or what do we not want people to say to us? And this was a real good question from my friend Becca, who was like, I really want to know what to say, what not to say. And she's like, I think that'd be a great topic for you guys to talk about. So
Did she ask you that question
specifically
face to face?
in the parking lot on
That's
our
a
way
really
to
funny
Walmart.
thing to ask you.
I know.
And it's like, do you want me to tell you right now?
What do you want me to tell you right now? I'm seeing you in front of me.
One thing, do not ever ask that question.
What are you doing? Oh,
You could have freaked her out
Just
really
walk
bad.
away.
You never say that again. How dare you?
how dare you?
She would have just crumbled.
I know.
Oh no.
Her poor little heart.
What did I do?
Yeah.
It's a really good question. I
is.
did read that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Do you
I
want to
think
go first?
sure. I think,
Okay.
and I've often thought about that too. And when I saw that, or before I read the question, I've
Mhm.
thought about this too. And because I have lots of friends and family that have lost people really close to them as well. Everyone has that in their lives, people like that. And I'm like, oh, I probably could have talked about them, the people that they lost more.
Mm-hmm.
I could have said their name more.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, yeah, you could potentially upset them, but they're not going to be upset at you. I guarantee
Mhm.
that person is their favorite topic.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that is how you feel?
Oh, yeah. And especially
Yeah.
when it's fresh, but
This is
forget
coming
what-
from two people that
yeah.
started a podcast dedicated to talking about their daughter. So
that
this is
passed.
how we
Yeah.
feel.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't imagine someone losing someone and after a certain amount of time where they're able to leave the house, that they're able to talk about that person that they lost.
Yeah. Yeah. At whatever stage you're at from your loved ones, from losing your loved one, whether it's years, whether it's weeks or months, keep this advice for any time, whether it's like 10 years down the road or whether it's like a month or whenever that person is ready to go out in public. It could be their first time out in public, could be their second, their third, their fourth. I think this carries on and this matters
Mhm.
for however long that you are grieving.
Mhm.
I don't want people to think, oh, it's been a year. Kyla's probably sick of people bringing up this or that or
Bella.
Bella, you know, like topics around her passing versus just topics around her and good memories and whatnot. It's like, no, just say her name, bring up the memories
Or anything.
or anything. Yeah. Like just don't stop and don't not, you know.
Don't tiptoe around it.
Yeah. Don't tiptoe.
Yeah.
I also said like, um, I wanted to bring up I call them quote unquote our drive-by hellos or
Oh,
drive-by.
sorry. You just said, okay, so you made me write down
Yes.
post-production
What did you write
from
that down
Remember
for?
Way. Why? I even wrote down the reminder and you
You
told
got
me
to
to.
write down words that I said so I remember.
No, because earlier on in our
Editing.
conversation,
Editing.
yeah.
It was the word edit.
So in post-production,
Yeah.
because you just said the word and there's a little feature on
Yes.
the software to be like, oh, we'll take out the ums and we'll put in just a little gap. So
Yeah. Which we
and I'm like,
did with
okay.
episode 4.
And then I tried that. And then every time
Yeah.
it replaced the it left in a gap, but the gap was like, yeah.
That's what it did. I was actually blowing into the mic and it sounds like
Yeah.
you're blowing on tea, which in the first episode or 2 we had out, I did actually have tea down here and I thought you had tea too. I think though I stole your tea and I was drinking it. But anyways, I was like, did he have tea in this episode? Why does he keep blowing his tea? Because it's like every so often is like,
Yeah. So it was a gap that they digitally put in
yeah,
and they say that that's like the room noise, but it didn't match our actual room noise.
no,
So
yeah. And I think leaving the ums in. Okay, so number 1, if you say and whatever, sometimes it just helps the flow of the conversation and people know you're thinking. Yes, you don't want to say it like every second word. That would be annoying. But also it's when you're just constantly thinking about that, then for me, you lose your train of thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, back to what I was saying.
we have a little bit of trouble with train of thought around here.
But that's okay on the podcast though.
Not just you, me. And I
Yeah.
think you're right.
It makes it, you know, entertaining. And sometimes there's like when you're talking you're in a good conversation and something comes up and you don't want to forget to say it, you don't have to forget. Right? You can write it down and be like, oh, we gotta bring that up later. That's a good topic. Talk about it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were we talking about again?
Okay. I have it right here in front of me.
I totally forgot.
Drive-by hellos.
Yeah.
We were saying like what we would or wouldn't want people to say
Right.
to us.
You were shopping
in
at
public.
a mall and this kind of remind you of it?
Oh, this is so funny. Yes. So it happened to us twice at the
Your
mall.
Christmas shopping.
I was Christmas shopping at the mall and this lady, like, there's people that stop you and
Which
they
is
kind of
awesome.
Yes. There's goods and bads about people like full on like stopping you. If you're like me and you're an outgoing person and you're okay with like you're an extrovert and you don't mind interacting with people socially a lot on socials or in real life, that's okay. But if you're a newly bereaved parent, you probably don't want people stopping you for multiple conversations in a public place when you're just already maybe like exhausted or just like
Anxious about public
kind of thing or whatever. But for those people, I really like this lady had like walked by me in the mall and you could tell like I was walking one way, she was walking the other, and you could tell that she was excited to see me and just say, I love you, I love what you're doing, I follow you. And she said it as she was walking by me because she's kind of at a distance on the other side of the mall, and she's like waving with this big smile like, I follow you, love you, keep doing what you're doing, and just kept walking. And I was like, thank you, and just kept walking. It was like, that was the sweetest little exchange.
Yeah.
And then it happened again at the rink when we were driving, finding a spot to park for Wayland's hockey, and another mom who I found her message on Instagram, and she did the same thing in her car. So we were in our car and she was in hers going opposite directions. She's just waving, and then she like did like a hand gesture like I love you or something. It was like she put it in her eye, then she put it in her chest, and then she put it at me, and it was so cute and
That's
sweet.
really funny.
It was just like, those are the best. I love those.
Yeah. I mean, but you made it sound like people that were coming up to you were upsetting you. And I don't think that has been the case whatsoever yet at all. You just worry that there could be somebody that.
I just want to put myself in shoes of someone who's not as like public as me.
Anyone that's.
You know what I mean?
But then they wouldn't know about them.
Well, also, like, what if you lose your child
Mhm.
and you're in your hometown community and you go to
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Walmart for
yeah.
the first time because you need to get something that you just can't get online or whatever, and
Right.
because maybe you don't want to be in public, and that's just like,
I
I don't
did.
even,
That's like me. That was like me.
yeah, yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, pause.
You can talk.
Well, I'll keep going. I'll keep going. You go handle. Okay, so Waylon is upstairs and he's a little. He can hear us. Maybe we woke him up. Okay, I'm gonna keep talking. Solo episode with me, you guys. This is the first time I've talked to you all by myself. Hello, I'm waving at you. Okay, I'm gonna carry on this conversation because Lyle is gonna go help our son Waylon, who is 6 and supposed to be sleeping, but for some reason he's up. I was gonna go on to say that in talking with what you would maybe after losing your loved one want people to say to you when you see someone out in public, I had noted that it's great if you can bring up memories. The drive-by hellos are great, like I just talked about. In particular with Bella, I love hearing how she inspired someone or how she had helped you or someone get through something really hard. I've had lots of medical parents and even non-medical parents just tell me how Bella had helped their little one with a hospital visit or a doctor visit or something that was difficult for them, and knowing Bella inspired them and helped them through that. I would say a don't would be try not to draw us into long conversations. I think for me, if I was to put myself in other people's shoes, I would want to think about the energy that they are lacking at that time, where it's like the energy is just not even there to keep a conversation. You're just like out in public to get done what you need to get done, and then you just want to go back home and kind of hermitize a little bit. I think in saying that, the energy that I'm talking about comes from having to put on a face, having to put on a smile. And I know lots of people will tell you, like, okay, no, you don't have to put on a face. You don't have to this, that, and the other thing. But for me, it's, I cherish a heart of gratitude. And when someone comes up to me and they want to tell me about their love of Bella, I want to be thankful for that. I am very thankful for that. And I don't want to rush that away. But it is hard to hold up that energy, to look someone in the eye, to nod, to have a conversation. I think it's just as a bereaved parent or someone who has lost a loved one, you might not understand the energy that gets drawn out of you in ways you've never really experienced or could imagine. Uh, it's hard just being in public in general when you have grief. And I would also say another good point to this would another good bit of advice would be don't ask, how are you? But instead make statements like, I've been thinking of you, hoping you're well. It's good to see you. Those are a little bit easier where it's the questions force you to answer, and sometimes you just don't have that energy. So it's nice if someone just leaves you with a statement like, I'm thinking about you. Um, I hope you're doing okay. I'm thinking about you. Just wanted to say hello. Just wanted to say I'm thinking about you. Thought of Bella today when I saw this beautiful pink dress in the store, or something like a statement versus a question. I find is a little bit easier to handle when you're out in public as a person grieving a loss of a loved one. Okay, on to the next question I have. This is from Sydney. Sydney had wrote in on my Instagram and said, how did Lyle and yourself make it through tough times? And I think I would definitely love to wait for Lyle to get back downstairs before I continue to answer that question. I'm going to save that for him. And we're going to get into that, and we're going to get into how we keep positive after receiving heavy news and blows from doctors. And then next, after that, we're going to get into how, as parents with multiple practitioners for Bella, like doctors and nurses and specialists, um, especially with difficult conversations. Did Bella's medical team members communicate in a helpful way, or could communication be improved, specifically when dealing with prognosis or goals of care? Hey, how did things go?
Good.
Is he
Good. He's good.
gonna be okay?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's great.
Okay, good. Is he just hungry again?
No.
No. I finished the first question there and then just went on. Oh my gosh, see Jack. Our cat that loves to sit on our laps is here. So we're going to test out my cat theory. Do you guys remember that? When I thought that say Jack, he's like the worst background noise. Denny can text in.
The cat just came in. It got let in, and now it's crawling all over Kyla's lap. And
this is Sajak, and he is we have 3 cats right now. Sajak is our oldest. He's probably like 10. And he's an outdoor cat. Anyways, he is the most lovey. Like, he needs to sit on you, lick on you. He needs to be petted. He needs you, but he needs with his claws, and it's really painful, but he is all love. Scotty is our little kitten that flies around the house, and she's shy and little, and you never hear or see her. And Roger is our big, floofy, majestic boy who is
white.
Apparently, we only have cats on the grayscale.
Yeah, I guess so.
But hopefully he doesn't make too much sound, and Denny can let us know if he is causing issues with background noise.
So where are we at?
We are at the next question that I wanted to wait for you, and you had perfect timing. So it is, this is a question from Sydney. How did Lyle and yourself make it through tough times?
I think it was really, well, I shouldn't say easy, but it was, we adapted correctly. I can't imagine going through it without you.
Yeah.
I mean, with the distance that we are apart for so long, 500-600 kilometers, that's a lot of managing, and we have Waylon and Bella, and so, and careers that we had to keep, going. It was, then we had to adapt, and it just, without you, it wouldn't have worked at all. Like, there's no time. There's no time to squabble. Like, well, sure. I mean, we fight like everyone else.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe there was just there was so much purpose with maintaining things and keeping things together. It didn't work it wouldn't work without the two of us.
That's right. Even before Waylon, it's hard to even imagine. I have always said, I don't know how. Can hear him.
The cat experiment is over.
Okay, cat. It's not a shiny red ball. It's a black, soft, fuzzy cat. I have always said, I do not know how single parents do that, let alone medical single parents. And it's just like, yes, I have supportive family, and yes, I have supportive friends. But to be a single parent, I just can't even imagine on the regular, let alone medical parent.
There's a lot that do it.
There's a lot that do it. And I mean, the amount of times we got asked, like, how are you two still married? Like, the amount, like, I mean, there's signs all over every children's hospital, like, we will not tolerate domestic violence, like yelling, like, that's in those high stress situations. Yeah, there probably is a lot of that.
A lot of breakdowns, a lot of
like resentment, maybe frustration,
and forced interaction.
Yeah. And you get to your breaking point. I think with us, when either of us got to our breaking point, I don't know how to explain it other than love. When you see someone you love suffering, you want to help pick them up, and you always did that for me. And I would see ways that you would suffer. No, you weren't always in the hospital like I was, but you were also at home missing your daughter that you didn't get to see for weeks on end because you're trying to keep our house running and your job going and our acreage going and your business going, like trying to keep a job. And I just never understood how you could basically bite the hand that feeds you in a sense. It's like, okay, my husband is doing all he can on this, and it always seemed to like equally weigh what I tried to keep up in hospital. And I always saw it like that. And I was just like, I could not, I don't care how mad or frustrated or annoyed I got with you. There was no way I could walk this road without you.
Mhm.
Right. And like, that's just the way it was in my head.
Yeah, there's definitely like a big purpose, or like I don't want to say a greater purpose, but yeah, exactly. We also happen to love each other very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
That's
And
for
we,
sure. I'm sure if we didn't, it wouldn't have worked that way.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has to be there.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe, yeah, when we had hard times between ourselves, this other, purpose really did rear its head and make you think, I gotta just suck it up. I gotta say sorry because there's so much on the line here that, like, yeah, you just gotta suck it up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those times, I think.
I think some tactical like ideas or advice that really helped us make it through together was we were always very very in tune with how each other was feeling, and we were always very vocal about what each other needed. It was like, I know even our conversations, you would say to me, okay, don't start the conversation with this because this makes me feel this way, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it, I understand that. Like, don't start, I would be slow to start and be like, so, and you'd be like, is Bella okay? Like,
It's
number one,
every phone call.
is it okay? Yeah, because you would have to sit in silence sometimes, and whereas I was just in it constantly 24/7,
Mhm.
you were on the
Oh, we kind of talked about that in the last podcast. It was like
yeah,
when your dad phones you, what's wrong?
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
just your phone every time you phone me.
yeah,
Rather, oh, why are you phoning me in the middle of the afternoon?
yeah,
What's wrong? Like, we'll just spit it out.
yeah,
Is she okay? Say that first.
yeah,
Very thing first. So.
yeah. And we talk a lot about how we are very different in our we talk about it, we kind of make fun of each other for it too, where and we accept it as the way we are. We don't accept things as faults. Like, you and I joke a lot about me being very empathetic, very storyteller, very kind of slow going sometimes. And
Get the lead out. Let's
kind of
roll.
very like Eeyore, and you're very Tigger. And you would think, but I mean, lots of people say opposites attract. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Like, we're like a testament to both of those.
Yeah, distance definitely.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something. I mean, because we are spending quite a bit of time together right now, and
But we're doing okay. Like,
yeah,
but also this is
yeah,
like
we are doing
we're
okay.
doing
Thanks,
okay.
honey. I thought we were doing better than okay, but
Me too.
you know what?
No, I do. I mean that too. This is very therapeutic. Like, this new experience, this new podcast experience is so therapeutic, and I love it.
Oh, I just meant spending like the last, 6 months at home.
Oh, yeah.
Not racing off to work and just being in it and
Yes.
taking, this time to just be peaceful.
Yeah.
Like, and chill.
Yeah.
Is helpful. But
yeah,
it's okay, I guess. Right.
I meant that like the best okay I could. I mean, given the circumstances,
Oh,
that we're not like murdering each other after living together every day, 24 hours a day. We're actually doing really good for that.
I just thought you
Whereas
meant
it's
considering
like,
the circumstances of exactly where we are. Yeah, we are doing just okay. Yeah, I get what you
or
mean. Yeah.
or looking back into like when COVID hit and you were like, I am not working from home. You're like, I need
Oh
to
man,
get out of this
that would be
house.
like, yeah, okay, if I wasn't, really grieving and
Yeah.
trying to piece my life together.
Yeah.
Yeah, COVID is a good example of what I am like
Yeah.
in a normal headspace.
Yeah.
I was not gonna
You were
say
like, nope, give me it.
Yeah, I remember
I'm
during
not.
COVID. Yeah, because I was manager and we had to work from home, and everyone was here.
Yeah.
I
Waylon, Bella, me.
phoned my boss. I'm like, nah, it's not happening.
No, you're like, give me the office.
The office
now.
is empty. I'm going back.
Yeah. You're
He's
like,
like, yeah, yeah.
like it's been 2 days.
I remember when I first moved, my stuff, work from home,
Yeah.
I put it in the basement, and right at the same time it was Masters tournament, like golf. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be okay. I get to work and watch Masters. This is,
This
but
is-
then I'm like, no, but then it just wore off. I'm like,
yeah.
no, this is not for
You
me.
were so accessible. And I was like, yay, I
Mhm.
love it.
Yeah.
No, no. Anything else we want to chat about how we got through tough times? I remember I mean, I went to my doctor and like this is how this happened. And me going to mental health talk therapy, getting tools from that for myself through PTSD, like medically complex PTSD, that also really helped you. Although those meetings were with me and my mental health nurse, the tools I received from that really helped you in a sense. I feel like um, being able to do that gave me the tools to help myself, where I feel like with the trauma and everything living in hospital, so much of me was like almost like clawing at you for help when do you
Well, it made
remember
me,
that
yeah, I
way?
think a lot of it then was like this crippling anxiety that you're going through.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it anxiety. You were just a deer in headlights half the time.
Yeah.
And, them labeling it as PTSD.
Well, it did get crippling at one point when I couldn't even drive.
Yeah.
Couldn't even be
But I mean,
alone.
that was really helpful to just be, kind of have
Mhm.
a label attached to it in a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And that
then
was how long ago? That was like 6, 7 years ago
yeah.
when you'd gotten back and Bella and we were doing okay. She
Yeah.
was probably home for maybe a year then at
Mhm.
that point, and you were able to take advantage of those, the
Yeah.
mental.
Those supports.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I just really am so happy I did that because it helped our relationship going as medical parents. It helped take me away from constantly looking at you for help and teaching myself to help myself uh in more ways to take that load off of you.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of couples struggle. Like that could be maybe the reason why this question was asked is like a lot of couples are maybe just like, why aren't you helping me more? Why aren't you doing more of this for me? Why don't you play this part and do this and do that? I am going through enough where it's like, wait a minute, what parts on that list can you actually do yourself? What can you absolutely take on yourself or do yourself? And what can you absolutely not? Sift through that. And,
Well, yeah,
you know,
there's the opposite side to that where, and I think probably like most men, I'm not explaining to you what I'm going through. I'm just,
yeah,
it takes, I have no energy to even explain it. So,
yeah,
and then we get very logical, right? And it's like, why would I explain it to you? You can't fix that exact
yeah,
thing. But I don't have that.
yeah,
I have a better understanding now that just talking to you does help.
yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah.
getting that perspective
But
from someone else
10
too.
years, 8 years ago, I just wouldn't even want to waste the energy of telling you about how I feel.
Yeah,
Because how are you going to fix this problem?
yeah,
How are you going to fix that problem? But it's not about that.
yeah. And it's very hard to, when you're in such a high stress state as a woman, I find it's so hard to accept things in a logical format. It's, you need it with grace, you need it with emotion, you need it with empathy.
Mhm.
And I think learning how to express myself and express what I need and what I can do for myself really helped me. And I think that helped us in part too.
Right.
Yeah.
And accessing those.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a mental health professional.
No.
Well, I know there must be a reason why they exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was good.
Definitely. Number 3, if we're going with the numbers on my notes.
Yeah, it's working.
How did we keep
What was number 2?
Number 2 was
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The very last one.
The one we just asked. How do we make it through tough times? Number 3, how did we keep positive after receiving heavy news and blows from doctors constantly? The person asking this had said, I feel pain and anger taking over a lot of my days. How do we keep positive when we constantly received heavy news, hard news, blow after blow? And I just, that brings up all the memories of like, okay, she had another surgery. She recovered. She fought through all those setbacks. She's back home and boom, hey, this isn't working, back in hospital again.
Mhm.
How do we stay positive through that?
It That's a tough question. I think a
Yeah.
lot of it was same that guiding light, Bella couldn't
Hmm.
you had to be positive for her. You
Yeah.
couldn't drag her down. It was already rough enough on her.
Yeah.
You had to make the environment positive for her. So you tricked yourself into being happy,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Almost like exposure
Delusion,
therapy.
delusion.
Delusion. This
Delude
is
yourself. This is okay. It's like that gif of the guy sipping on the cup of coffee and the house is burning
I'm
around. The
fine.
dog. Yeah.
And there's
This
like
is
fire in the background.
this is
I'm
fine.
fine. This
No,
is
it's just
fine.
fine.
I love that meme. That's such
It's
a good
that.
one. Yeah,
Just
it's
be
that.
delude yourself.
Delude. I noticed I used a lot of humor.
Mhm.
I used a lot of humor, and I think I also I put myself in others' shoes a lot. I mean, I lived in hospital. It was constantly around me seeing other kids suffering like Bella had suffered, and also just living in hospital. And then I would always look at the nurses coming in and out of her room every day, and the doctors and the medical staff, the cleaning staff. And I think they have to see this every day like I do. They have to see kids going through pain. There's kids going through pain. There's their parents. I saw that every day, and I would think, okay, they're going through this too. And so for me, a big part of how I kept positive was just telling myself to not complain. I knew Bella had every reason to complain, and I would never say like don't complain, but for myself, I think a way I stayed positive was I told myself I learned why I could not complain. And it was because that first couple years in hospital especially where I came to know personally Bella would, I mean, she was a toddler, but she would be friends. And I would come to know families that lost their kids and never got to bring them home. Or I would be beside, another mom whose kid is, code blue and they go to pick you and I never see them on the ward again. That stopped me in my tracks. And from then on, I'm like, okay, not only do I need to buck up, be delusional and put on that good old poker face for Bella, but I also need to not complain because my kiddo's living and breathing in front of me right now and she's pushing through and it's hard, but she's still here. I still get to hold her. I still get to take her home.
Hmm.
And that was a big life changer for me. Sorry. Keep moving my microphone.
That's okay.
I think that's, really where my mind was like, okay, you need to be positive.
Yeah.
In this way for your daughter and for all the other mamas and dads and caregivers out there that, have it worse right now.
Yeah. How do I follow that up? I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we also tried to definitely put time aside and reward ourselves, and like when we had the chance to go enjoy ourselves and go watch a movie, or we would take that every time. We had to like get ourselves out of it. And when you were alone in hospital and I was 5 hours away, you would put yourself out there to take advantage of the activities that were offered to you. You did a lot better job of that than I probably would have if roles were reversed and you were at home and I was at the hospital and going back to the Ronald McDonald House. I probably would have spiraled a little bit worse because I'm not as outgoing as you. And so it probably would have got really lonely. And you managed, to make friends wherever you are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What was I going to say? It just left my brain. Um, I hope it comes back to me.
Mhm.
There was something else with that, but
Next question.
Next question. Okay. Next question. This is a good one.
Are you not saying who wrote them, or are you?
The ones that I have a name for, I will. Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't make fun
The
of you
last
hard
one,
enough for that.
the,
I was like, no, I was just joking.
the last one wanted to remain anonymous. As parents with multiple practitioners for Bella, so she had lots of medical, like I think at one point she had 30 different specialties between like RESP and GI and
maybe total over the course.
oh yeah, and then well, I remember, I had my binder and we'd be in hospital and have a list, OT, PT, respirology, GI, surgery. What else is there? Child life,
BI,
volunteers.
love and 7.
Well, that's not pulmonary,
What are these things?
lungs, heart, bowels, everything. Anyway, she had a lot of different practitioners, nurses, as well as doctors, of course. With the difficult conversations, did Bella's medical team members communicate in a helpful way, or could their communication be improved? Especially when dealing with a prognosis for Bella or goals for her care. Did you always find them communicating really well with us in a helpful way, or were there times where communication was like not great?
I think you found the good communicators and you kind of worked through them a lot, right? So Bella did have, they work as a team. I think most hospitals operate, they need to work as a team. But in that team, there are people that are just way better communicators than other people. And you spot them in rounds. Okay, that guy.
There's still a lot of herding cats. You had to learn the system and the rounds, order of rounds to eliminate the game of telephone, ruining communication.
But you would get the attention of that one that you seem to get, that they may seem to, and because they're all doctors, or they all have their own specialties, and they'll admit that they don't know exactly what that is or that is or that is, but they're able to kind of round things together, because as a parent, you're not the specialist either, so you just need someone to kind of give you the gist of it, but then also keep in good contact. And in those teams, there's usually a good communicator or two that you would leverage. And then there's also like there's head nurses that would be in charge of different specialties that were always good communicators. That's why they were in that position.
Yeah.
And so, they're not the GI doctor, but they work with them all the time, and they're in that position to talk to you because they are good communicators and they understand enough of it to communicate it to you. They're not going to choose exactly what to do to Bella or what to, change what medication is, but they know why they're doing those things, and they're telling you. Yeah.
I also relied on my nurse that I had that day I would talk to her, and I learned talking to our nurse, because they're the first ones there, right? Before rounds, they help you with rounds. And I would always say to that nurse,
we're gonna go through some shit today.
Listen,
I need you on the same page as me. Buckle up.
This is what's gonna happen. The rounds are gonna start, and I need you to get in but we would kind of have that, like, okay, break. But we would have that chat before rounds, and some of them would communicate with me like, I'm here to advocate for you. What are you worried about? What do you want the doctors at rounds to address and not forget, or this or that, the other thing? And because sometimes, like rounds would happen in the morning, and you might not get another chance to see that doctor until 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. or the next day. And when your child is going through trial and error, different meds or changes daily, you don't have time to wait. Sometimes you just don't have time to wait. So having that nurse communicate with me first thing in the morning, look, I'm going to advocate for you at rounds. This is what we're going to make sure gets handled today. That was really helpful. And then also with Bella having multiple different practitioners, multiple different teams, we would have her primary team, and the resident of that primary team I think was it the resident, or I think it was the resident that was always the communicator with the team head and then
Yeah,
the nurses and then all the other teams.
they would pop in daily.
They would come in daily, sometimes multiple times a day, and they were like my main point of like primary communication. And so I would tell them, I would say, look, because I had been through it at this point. I am like, I am not going to tell you and then tell my nurse and then tell this doctor and then tell that doctor and tell everyone that rotates through that door. Because sometimes it would be 10 people.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm going to tell you once because this is all I have energy for in the morning. And then I need you. This is what I need you to know. This is what we're working on today for Bella, and take that to the team.
Yeah.
And communicate it.
It also surprised me that they were using, they were like, our teams were so open to using more email. You wouldn't
Yes.
expect to really email between your doctor as much as you started to. At first, it wasn't like 10 years ago, wasn't really like that, right? You would never
Right.
have a chance to get your, the whoever's email, but now it seems like they're more open towards that.
It's so funny. I have a funny story around that because,
Mhm.
Our whole medical journey started in 2013, and back then it was like medical mom wasn't even a term, and it was kind of like
Mhm.
it was
Not
like,
to us, we didn't know.
no, we didn't
Sure.
know. But like even just being that parent with your child in hospital, maybe it was just the type of person I was, but when we had issues right at the beginning with Bella's surgery, I didn't sit around and wait for the nurse to try and get a hold of the surgeon. I was like, no, I want to talk to the surgeon. And I remember some of the nurses talking to me after and being like, you would never just call that surgeon to your child's room. And I would make it out to be like, no, this is an issue. We need to talk to face to face because I'm not telling this person, this person, this person. And eventually that terrible game of telephone gets to who I needed to get to. No, I need to talk to this person directly. And I realize now, like years later, how a ballsy that was for me as like, a mom of like a 1 month old who's had like 2 surgeries. But I
I
was just
think
like,
most moms take over though. Like when you get that mama bear mentality, right? Yeah. I
yeah,
don't think you knew you had it in you, is what you're
no,
saying.
yeah. Well, and it just wasn't like now it's family centered care, and it's like, okay, we need,
All right.
you know what I mean? It's not like kind of like, how
Hierarchy.
dare you call the surgeon out of his
Yeah.
area of wherever he is hiding to your room. It's
Well,
kind of
probably in
like,
a surgery room.
like, well, like it's
Visit Dr. Miller. Kyla needs you.
basically that's what it was. But like there was like, the protocol in those days was like, this is their clinic day. This is their surgery day. Like you don't talk to them
So
on their
over
surgery
those
day.
10 years, do you think there certainly was an evolution in that?
Oh, huge evolution of communication. I know they're definitely, like you had said, much more open to email, personal numbers, that sort of thing. I wrote down some notes of like some good
Well, I think the
examples.
email is so perfect because you can just
Yeah.
you can get kind of, it's imperfect as well. Like there's no room for nuance, but if you have specific details that you need to get across and you don't want that mixed up, that
Yeah.
line of communication, it's perfect for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Personal email. We utilized uncommon practices.
Mhm.
Personal email, text, calls, after hour contacts availability. So, for example, during COVID, I remember we had really good communication with her team. So, we also had a team in 3 different provinces that always needed to be in communication.
Mhm.
And her primary care team was in Alberta until she was listed for a transplant. Then that moved to Toronto. But they both had contact with our emergency services in Swift Current. And I remember because Bella was immune compromised, had a fragile immune system, and was waiting for transplant. I remember our communication was so good. They had said at one point, like, okay, I would talk to them. I'm like, what are we going to do if I need to bring Bella to the ER? And they're like, okay, we can't have you sitting in the ER. So they worked out a plan with our emergency crew in Swift Current to bring us in through the emergency bay. So I could call, I had a number to call ahead of time, be like, okay, I need to bring Bella in. We have our masks on. We're pulling up to base 7, and they would let us right in. It's kind of like a back at VIP entrance to the ER
Mm-hmm.
to avoid her having any risk in the ER waiting room.
Do you think that additional flexibility and availability of the team, do you think it was just because you had several teams and they're forced into this situation where we have to start using more forms of communication? We have to do these Zoom calls because we have different teams from different provinces working together.
Also that, but they also, I know, like specifically our local team was like, we need a primary one. We need someone to go to. We can't just go to Kyla. Like she's the parent. We need someone to call the shots from like up here. And that was Toronto from the moment Bella got listed, or Calgary. And so it was like, I could communicate with Toronto and be like, this is our situation in Swift Current. What can you tell them and suggest to them so they see it coming from another medical team and therefore are willing to do this specifically for us?
Did you have to ask for those emails though? Like, did you ever have to say, hey, could I get your email? And were they reluctant to give it to you?
I don't think so. I mean, that really started with her GI team, but that was basically her care team from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good communication for all teams because she always had multiple teams. So email was the best. And we would even go, to involve child life and social work and sharing emails. There was always someone I could email and there was always someone I could call.
Well, I'm just thinking if there's probably other parents that might be listening to this, and they might think, oh, how can I get that?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm just waiting around 16 hours in my kid's room to get, and this was the case for us many times, is waiting there for 16 hours just to see one person for a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Like, how do they get out of that?
I gotta think about that one.
Well, you're just kind of saying, like, with child life and all those other units.
The way I got out of that was I just learned the system. I learned like, okay, things don't happen on the weekends, but
yeah, that was a big learning curve.
That was a big learning curve. So like the more you learn the system, the more you understand the communication of your team. I would ask ahead on like Thursdays and Fridays. I would say, okay, who's on this weekend? And then her team also caught on to this. They're like, okay, Bella likes to throw us curveballs on the weekends. We're going to make sure that whoever's on call this weekend has an updated, recent copy of what's going on in her life. Because when we were inpatient, especially, well, not especially, it was constant. Things were always changing, whether it was meds or medical care plans or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned as a team together, okay, we're going to let Kyla know who's on call this weekend. She can call in as outpatient and they're going to know who she is. They're going to know what Bella's had lately. Like her med list could be 20 meds long.
A good example of that was when she would require blood work on the weekend, and they had to poke her to get an IV, and
blood work or IV
hundreds of times. Well, no, I mean when they didn't have an IV and they had to get blood off of her arm or something.
Oh yeah.
And they would just send in the normal unit to do that. And it was always a disaster because of her dwarfism and because of her veins. It made it impossible for them to get blood.
The amount they needed to process.
The amount they needed. And so doing that preparation work for going into the weekends when the people that know her aren't around was humongous.
Yeah.
To save her, getting poked by a needle 3 times and it not working.
Yeah.
They just need a specialized plan and specialized people to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
definitely. Yeah.
They had to plan for it.
Yeah. Communication has definitely been trial and error, and it's so needed, but it has evolved for the better. Definitely has evolved for the better, I think, for a lot of medical families.
What else you got there?
Where are we at? We're almost time to close this round. Do you think?
No, we could just keep going.
Okay, well, I only have one more question.
Wow.
But I don't know what time we're at. Are we like close to like 40 minutes? We don't want to.
Yeah, but there.
I guess we can. Yeah, we're gonna keep going anyway. Okay, this is a good one. Kind of ties in with what we previously chatted about, but we might have some different answers for this. This is a question from Kirsten. She had asked, how did and do we keep our marriage so strong?
We kind of already answered that, didn't we?
Do you think so?
How did we keep? I don't know. We'll see.
How do we? Okay, well then. What's
Stay
our
tuned.
time?
I'm sure you'll find out.
What's
We're
our
doing this
time limit?
podcast now. You might be pretty grumpy sometimes.
I want to see a real live domestic.
Yeah.
Rah.
Go listen back to see
Just kidding.
episode 3. No. What happened in
Our little
episode
fight.
3?
Our
I
little
don't know.
fight.
No, wasn't it episode 4 where I got in trouble? The last Q&A?
It kind of was. No. I think, yeah, it's better to say, how do we keep our marriage strong? I think that's really good and helpful. A lot of people, you know, are, I mean, that was a big question when living in hospital with Bella. I would have nurses and people in hospital just ask me that all the time. Like, how are you guys still married? Have you not ripped each other's heads off already? Like, and we were like, it would just, like,
We were answered this.
rather squabble with you
Didn't
than have to do this on my own. No,
Yeah. It was,
well, what are some like good examples that we could give people? Maybe there's a couple out there that are like, holy crap,
I'm no
we
relation
are-
expert.
but we can speak from experience. I would like to answer the question for
Pick
Kristen.
right.
What? Pick well.
Pick well.
Pick well. How do you keep your marriage so strong? Patience.
What do you mean?
Just
What else?
What do you
Patience.
mean?
That's how you.
What do you mean? What do I do? Patience. I honestly let things simmer.
I think I've heard enough.
Let the
Don't start a podcast, rule 1, or other projects together.
Rule 1: don't talk about the podcast club. Did I
Yeah,
get that
yeah. No, that's us in a vehicle. Whoa! Shut up.
Oh yeah,
Save that for the podcast.
save it for the pod. Save it for the pod. Yeah, mid conversation, we're just like getting something out, like whether it's like, and then it's like cut off. Save it for
Yeah,
the pod.
starting big projects that require both of you all in. Yeah, definitely really good for relationships.
Really,
It's good for grieving and the talking part.
It is.
It's good.
It is. Patience, I would say, it would be my
We
number
might
one
do.
word.
We might do a couple solo episodes.
I was gonna
Did you like your little break from me earlier this episode?
I was telling them, I was like, oh, you guys, this is my first little solo spot.
How'd it feel?
I carried on. Felt lonely. It's lonely. It's lonely without you.
That's what you got to do. You got to leave them wanting.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier.
So I'm gonna just threaten. I'm not going on the pod next
Threaten.
week. Watch.
Just threats and patience. Just wait it out.
There you go.
Your time will come. No, that sounds dreary. No, I was gonna say patience, because I think when you react too fast, it holds and harbors more regret instead of waiting things out. Just, have patience. Understand that, I think if you're in a hetero relationship, understand that, men's minds really do, to me, they work different. They are very logical. And no matter how hard you try, they're not going to think the same way you do. No matter how much time you spend together, how much you ask them to be more sympathetic and more empathetic, sometimes you just need to start a podcast and maybe the message will get across.
Wait a minute. What's going on here? Are those things even on? What is this? It's
What
all
is this?
fake.
It's a trap.
It's like that Seinfeld episode where Kramer finds the Merv Griffin set in the dumpster. And then he sets it up in his apartment. He invites people in.
Wait a minute.
And the one guest is like, where are the cameras?
It's an intervention.
That's pretty obscure reference. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I like Seinfeld, but I don't remember that episode.
Yeah.
Your dad would.
Anyone that actually likes Seinfeld would know.
Ooh, yeah, give me an Office episode and I'll know.
That's
what
true.
I'm talking about.
Good.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Are we good? What do you think?
Are we good? I think we're good. I don't know. I'm
We're
still
okay.
upset about the scam you're running here.
Okay, well, what would your advice be for Kirsten? How to keep a marriage strong in one word? Maybe two, but one. Try one.
No.
Mine was patience.
What did you say? This was a PG podcast?
Okay, that's your answer.
Yeah.
That's your answer, Kirsten.
Every guy listening is like, yeah, that's right.
We can't forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big part. That's a big part. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Where are we going with now?
I want. Okay. Yeah. My outro. Okay. I wrote a
You know, might be good because this is quite long already.
Okay.
Why don't we just make it a two-parter?
This be a part 1, and we want to confirm.
Or somewhere along the line it was, and we just keep going. If it's the exact same stuff.
We can just.
Hey, welcome to part 2.
Welcome to part 2.
Hi, 3.
Ding ding, round 2.
Hey, what do you need when it's raining?
What?
Bella.